It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look in the 5 and 10, glistening once again, with candy canes and silver lanes aglow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, toys in every store. But the prettiest sight you'll see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the hope of Bobby and Ben. Dolls that will talk and will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make 'em ring is a carol that you sing right within your heart. Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. We've got snow on the ground, and we're in the middle of a blizzard here in Regina at the moment. And we're going to try and do what I tried to do a couple of weeks ago when Cousin Ralph shanghaied the airtime and did his own little video. We're going to make sugar-free sugar cookies. That's right, we're baking an oxymoron right here in the Ian Wygath kitchen. So what are sugar-free sugar cookies? They're a sugar cookie made with Splenda instead of sugar. So let's get to it, shall we? First thing you're going to want to do is soften 1 cup of butter. I've got that already in my bowl. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And you're going to want to line 2 cookie sheets with parchment paper. Now, I used to buy my parchment paper in a roll, but then I discovered that for a lot less money, I could buy, and I'm not sponsored by this, but I could buy Betty Crocker parchment paper sheets at the dollar store for, I think these cost me $1.25 a packet. And it's a lot cheaper than buying the roll of parchment paper, and they work great. And depending on what you use them for, you can sometimes reuse the sheet 2 or 3 times. But anyway, so that's what you want to do. Soften your butter, 1 cup of butter. Line your cookie sheets, 2 cookie sheets with parchment paper, and preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, I'm going to move the camera over here so you can have an up-close and personal view of what we're going to do in the mixing bowl. Now, I'm going to use the hand mixer today. You could use a stand mixer for this, but you do need to use a mixer unless you can move a fork or a whisk around super fast. I recommend using the electronic version. And I'm using the musical mixer today, so as it's running, I won't be talking. All right, let's get to it. All right, well, what we need to do first is we're going to cream our butter. Then we'll add our Splenda. Now, one thing I will tell you is that when you cream together butter and Splenda, it reacts slightly differently than butter and sugar. So don't expect the same result as you would get normally with butter and sugar. Also, the Splenda tends to be a little bit fluffy, so it's going to take a little bit more to blend it in. And you want to start off slowly so you don't just put a big cloud of Splenda into the air. All right, once you've got that cream together, we're going to set that aside for a minute. In a separate bowl, we're going to mix a cup and 3/4 of white flour. We're going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon, that's 1/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, ground nutmeg. A 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt.
and half a teaspoon of baking powder. And we're going to whisk those together really well. And try and get that thoroughly blended into there. And once you've got that blended together, you can set it aside. And we're going to come back to this, and we're going to add to this. This is your butter and Splenda mix. You're going to add 1 egg. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now, if you want to change these cookies up a little bit, you could substitute 1 of the teaspoons of vanilla extract for an extract of another flavor, like lemon extract or almond extract, and it would give it a subtly different flavor. All right, let's blend this together. Okay, once you've got that blended together well, we'll start adding our flour mixture. But first, let's get these out of our way. All right. Now you just want to add this gradually. Again, you don't want to create a big cloud of flour in your kitchen. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me add all of this, so we'll come back at the end when I've got it done. All right, now we've got that all nicely blended. We're going to try and get all this extra off the beaters here. And like I've said in previous videos, if you're doing these with the kids or the grandkids, you might want to leave a little bit on the beaters, because that's the fun of making cookies with grandma or grandpa, or mom or dad, is getting to lick the beaters and scrape out the bowl when they're done. The cookies are a bonus later. All right, our dough is ready to go. Now you have 2 choices on this. One is you can cover this and put it in the fridge and cool it for several hours or overnight, and then you can pat it out and use cookie cutters to do your Christmas trees and snowmen and candy canes and whatever to do traditional cookies. Or you can cook them right away, which is what we're going to do, which is why I preheated my oven to 375. And to do that, you're just going to take globs and you're going to roll out in balls. Now it is kind of a sticky dough, so don't be surprised that it sticks to your fingers. Now the other option too, if you don't want to do shapes, just want round cookies, you could roll it out and use a biscuit cutter to make your perfectly round cookies. But I'm just going to do these in balls, and then I'll flatten them out a little bit before we bake them. Now before you do this, like the way I'm doing it, be sure to wash your hands. Now, how big you want to make your cookies, that's up to you. If you want them really big or if you want them smaller, you can kind of judge that for yourself. This should make about 2 dozen cookies. And if you're doing shapes, then of course that depends on the size of your cookie cutter as to how big the candy canes and the snowmen and that sort of thing are. But let's get these done. There's 12 done. I'm not going to make you watch every little bit of me rolling these out, because I'm sure now you've seen how I'm doing it, you are quite capable of doing it yourself without further instruction. But if you're having a Christmas party or something and you've got people that are diabetic or on a diet or whatever, these are a nice way to still enjoy a traditional cookie without the extra sugar. There, now as you can see, through careful planning and measurement and a gigantic amount of luck, I've got 2 dozen cookies. So I'm just going to flatten these out a little bit. Now it's going to make them look a little bit like peanut butter cookies using the fork, isn't it? But we just want to flatten them a bit. Like I say, this dough is kind of sticky, so I have to kind of work at it. Maybe I'll just use my fingers. That might work better. And that way nobody will mistake them for anemic peanut butter cookies. Now, another thing you can do if you want to make these a little more festive is you could add food coloring. You could add red or green food coloring, or you could separate, once you've got the dough completely mixed, you could separate it into two halves and do some green and some red, just to make them a bit more festive. All right, now we've got our cookies ready to go in the oven, and we're going to bake them at 375 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. Now, that'll depend on your oven. If you're not sure, try them for 8 minutes and see how they look, and give them the extra time if they need it. In my oven, I'm going to do them for 9 minutes. So let's get the first batch in the oven. All right, we'll come back when they're cooked and have a look, see how they turned out. Well, our last batch of cookies is in the oven and has 11 seconds left to go. So we'll get those out. As you can see, I've already taken the first batch out, put them on the cooling rack, and I will cover them up with a red plaid towel, or gingham if you prefer. I always find baking that cools more slowly when it's covered with a towel tends to stay a little moister. So there we have it, 2 dozen sugar-free sugar cookies, or a cookie, the oxymoron of cookies, if you will. Hope you'll give this recipe a try. Now, if you are not a person who likes to use artificial sweeteners, you can make this recipe with sugar. Just replace the cup of Splenda with a cup of regular sugar, and you're off to the races. And also, you don't have to use Splenda. You can use stevia or any other kind of artificial sweetener that's powdered if you prefer. But hope you give them a try and will enjoy them, and hope your preparations for Christmas are going well. Until Tuesday, when we have Tuesdays with the Pilgrim, take care, stay safe, and God bless.